best in radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's Kerry Lutz, recovering from my cold, but the moment you've been waiting for, covering metals prices. Best guy I know out there to do it, Craig Hemke, a.k.a. Turd Ferguson of tfmetalsreport.com. Go to that site, sign up, get the complimentary membership, and I suggest you spend the $10 and go for the pay site as well. Wealth of information. Craig, how you doing?
Kerry, just fine. Thank you for the plug. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. And I really believe in the site. I'm there all the time. And hey, what's the word here on PM?
But it's been it's really been an interesting year. It's been an interesting couple of years. I guess if you really want to go back. I mean, gold has rallied since 2002 when it was about $250. It peaked temporarily in price in August of 2011 at $1,920, and it's been down ever since. I think the recurring theme, the recurring driving force in gold is to try to keep it held back, keep it in check, keep the ascent managed as much as possible. What has happened recently is still tied to QE3, QE infinity, whatever folks want to call it, that began in 2012. And at that point, there was a divergence between the growth of the Fed's balance sheet, the growth of the U.S. accumulated debt, and the price of gold, which had tracked each other almost on a one-to-one basis for years. Suddenly that broke in 2012 when this last episode of QE was started. It was broken by design. If you go back and look at QE1 in 2009 and 10, over that time, gold rose about 70% while that was in effect. In QE2, which was in 2010 and 2011, gold rose about 70% during that time frame when QE2 was live. So when QE3 was announced in 2012, had gold risen another 70%, we'd be talking at something just below 3,000 today. And $3,000 gold would be signaling, really be a flashing beacon of just how terrible things are. And so that wasn't going to be allowed. The Fed and the bullion banks acted. They stopped the trend in late 2012. They broke all of the moving averages and technical support levels in April of 2013. And it's been down ever since. They're driving it lower again here now in the present, but they're not just the suggestions of supply and demand. They're not the guidelines of economics. The laws of supply and demand, the laws of economics will eventually hold sway. In the meantime, if somebody, an online bullion dealer or your local coin shop, is willing to trade you 1 ounce of gold for 1,200 paper dollars, man, take them up on it. It is a sale. It is a bargain of a lifetime. It's your only protection against the madness that is only going to get worse. And people should be rejoicing the prices are this low, not wailing and grinding their teeth.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and I have to admit, caught totally flat-footed by it. But I started buying, my gold back in 1999 and really added my positions in 2008, 2009 after the crash. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I've always viewed metal as an insurance policy, not as a particularly speculative vehicle. But saying that, you still don't like to see it get beat up like this and knocked down. On the other hand, our Nobel Prize laureate in the White House, since he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, has bombed 7 countries. I mean, is that what it takes to get a Nobel Peace Prize these days, Craig?
Hey, I just was listening. Excuse me. I just was listening this morning to a podcast of a radio program last night that I check out every single week. It's a John Batchelor show.
Oh, sure, I know.
And
yeah.
They were his guest every week is Professor Stephen Cohen, who is a professor of Russian history and Russian studies at Princeton. They have these fascinating discussions every week, and I was just listening to their discussion last night, and they mentioned, I didn't even notice this. Maybe Kerry, this might have slipped by you as well. Just last week, the Nobel laureate announced that he was initiating, giving the green light to a $1 trillion program for the U.S. to update and modernize its nuclear arsenal.
Actually, I caught it, and I did see that. And
apparently that was part of the rationale that the good folks in where is it, Oslo, gave him the Peace Prize in the first place, because he was going to go in there and make the world safe from nuclear weapons, and instead, just like he was going to be the most transparent president, and he was going to jail the bankers and everything was going to change. He's the worst of all of it. He's completely beholden to the bankers and the warmongers and everybody else. I mean, he's the biggest fraud we've had in the White House since, the president that preceded him and the one that preceded him. I mean, he's just like the rest of them. And until the complete system is forced into some type of change, it's the kind of leadership we're going to continue to have.
Yeah, I wish I could say that I believed a word that he said ever. I've been taken in by these hucksters in the past. I will admit, I had my epiphany in the crash of 2008, 2009, where it all dawned on me, the welfare warfare state, and you can't have one without the other. They go hand in hand. And, from that point on, I never believed another word that any of these politicians said. And look, whatever happens in the election coming up in November, it's not going to make one bit of difference to anything. Nothing.
Right.
You know it, and I know it.
If I might spin off in just a different direction for just a minute, everybody's all concerned now about this ISIS and all these other terror groups that you never even heard of before, even just last week, right?
We heard of a new one yesterday, right?
Yeah, exactly. What? Who's this? The chloroform group or something?
Karnak the Magnificent or something?
I always thought he was kind of friendly. He had Ed McMahon sitting by his side. What are we bombing him for? I don't, if you really want to understand what's going on there, I think you have to look at a much bigger picture, and the bigger picture takes you all the way to dollar hegemony, U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, and the protection to the very end that the U.S. is going to provide for that. I mean, and perhaps there are a lot of politicians that go along with that protection because they think that that's what's in the best interest of the U.S. We don't want to lose that, and so that's why they set out bombing everybody. But the key to the maintenance of this dollar-based system is a term that many of your listeners have heard. It's the petrodollar. And that is the dollar recycling system, that all energy is traded in dollars, which creates demand for dollars, which means all the dollars that we print in all of this massive debt that we build up gets recycled back into the government and funds more and more debt, thus keeping away, the massive inflation that we should have had over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, in trying to pacify our friends, if you want to call them that, on the Arabian Peninsula, who are the key to maintaining that petrodollar arrangement, President Obama was going to bomb Syria 13 months ago.
Right.
Because that's what the Saudi Arabians wanted, ostensibly because they and some of the others on the peninsula want to build a pipeline to supply Europe with gas, and that pipeline needs to go through Syria. So Obama, the dutiful servant in protection of the petrodollar, sets out to bomb Syria at their request. Of course, somewhere along the lines, they decided, well, that's maybe not the best way to go, and maybe that's just too dangerous at this time. So then they set about to destabilize Ukraine and upset the gas to Europe story by trying to get Russia out of the picture. Well, that hasn't worked out too well either. And so here we are exactly 1 year later, no less. If you recall, President Obama gave a speech on September 10th, 2013, laying out how we needed to bomb Syria. And then on September 10th, 2014, he gives a second speech laying out how we have to bomb in Syria.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how that's what they're trying to defend. They cook up all these boogeymen to give it cover. But what we're really trying to defend is the current system, the current monetary system where the U.S. runs the show. Yeah, maybe they can defend it a little while longer, but they can't defend it forever. And when we buy precious metal, we are protecting ourselves against the events that will unfold as that system comes to an end. The price being down at 12.20 in late September 2014, in the grand scheme of things, means nothing. Will be long since forgotten when all this stuff begins to play out.
Yeah, I don't even think it'll be a footnote in history,
right,
Craig. It just will be one of those things, last gasp. But yeah, as I always say, just because the country's going down the tubes doesn't mean you have to go with it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And, I don't think we're going to have this Mad Max scenario. I really don't. But, I still think, look, in Florida, where I live, we prepare for hurricanes. We got food, we got water, we have other survival tools, if you get my drift. And you know what? You got to prepare for every type of emergency that it's within your ability to do without being an extreme prepper. And,
it'd be irresponsible not to, Kerry.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the statistical probability is of a hurricane coming directly into West Palm Beach or wherever it is that you are. I can't remember.
Far. Not far.
I mean, I don't know.
Beach County. Yeah.
1 in 100? I mean, 1 in
38 in any given year, something like that.
All right. So over the course of 10 years, I mean, who knows? But anyway, so you dutifully prepare for that, just in the possibility, the even remote possibility that you take a direct hit. But yet what you and I are talking about is really a mathematical certainty that eventually this is all going to take place. But yet everybody wants to just bury their head in the sand and not concern themselves with protecting themselves and their posterity against these events that are coming. It's amazing to me.
That they are. And more about where these metal prices should be and what the economy is really doing, not what they say it's doing. Up next on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
This show is brought to you by Audible, your leading source for audiobooks and courses. You know that I'm a huge Audible fan. I've got over 300 audiobooks in my library and have been a member for over 6 years. They've got a great deal for you. Join now and get a 30-day free membership and a free book. Go to audible.com/podcast/FSN. That's audible.com/podcast/FSN. I just downloaded Lee Child's latest in his Jack Reacher series. I can't wait till my drive to South Carolina to start listening to it. I know you'll love Audible as much as I do. Go to audible.com/podcast/FSN and get started today.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And if you're just joining in, we've got Craig Hemke, a.k.a. Turd Ferguson of TFMetalsReport.com on with us now. And Craig, the economy, I don't know if you caught the mortgage origination numbers, but they are down 60% from a year ago. For all the too big to fail banks. And if you remember, at the beginning of 2014, they were laying off thousands of people in their mortgage origination departments, which had made them billions of dollars in 2012, 2013. They obviously knew what was ahead here, right? So housing is dead in the water. Where's the money? Where's the recovery in the economy coming from?
There is no recovery, though they won't tell you that, obviously. In fact, our friend Andy Hoffman was telling me just this morning about some of the latest housing data that just came out today. That's just laughable how demonstrably false and inaccurate it is. But see, that's all part of the picture. I mean, what do you think they're going to come out? The Bureau of Labor Statistics going to come out and say, "Oh yes, you know what? This really is bad." Yeah, and if we didn't add all these make-believe jobs and seasonal adjustments, we'd look at just how many jobs have actually been lost. We didn't count part-time jobs, how many fewer jobs there are than there were in 2008. But you don't get that. that doesn't prolong the system. That does not prolong the great Ponzi. And so you just get this steady stream of false data, manipulated data, inaccurate data to try to create a picture, an illusion that all is well. Again, as we mentioned earlier, we're not talking about the suggestions of economics or the guidelines of supply and demand. Eventually, as Andy said, the economic mother nature will have her way again. And when that moment comes, the events are utterly unpredictable. Yeah, all I know is gold at 1,200 will certainly have been considered quite a bargain. I'm not trying to make myself out to be some kind of soothsayer. I mean, there's 90 days left in the year, basically. I thought both gold and silver would recover by about 25% this year and resume a paper bull market. That led me to think gold would get to 1,500 and that silver would get to 26. Like I said, the sand's passing through the hourglass. So, I mean, I may be dead wrong on that. But what I'm not dead wrong about is that ultimately a 1,500 and 26 are going to be not multiple. What's the opposite of a multiple? Device, or I don't know, a fraction of where prices are headed.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
It just can't be any other way. I mean, it's got to be built on something. And honestly, I've said before, and I'll say it again, the only reason why the economy hasn't collapsed to this point is two reasons, I guess, technology and fracking boom. If there wasn't this oil boom coming where we weren't pumping out 3 million barrels a day of oil, the economy would have long since collapsed years ago. I mean, there's no question about it. Just would have.
And to a large part, that's true. But I would also add, I mean, without the Fed constantly pumping the money supply and without kind of a willful cooperation of the media and people just willing to pretend that all is well and create this illusion that all is well, we wouldn't have made it this far. Now, again, that can't continue forever. And, but though it can obviously continue for a while, it's made it a lot longer than most of us thought it would.
Yeah.
Go back to 2008 and 9, we thought, geez, boys, 2010, that ought to be the year. Oh, 2011, it's definitely all going to end. But they've been managed to kind of piece it together in the time since. But gosh, it is really fraying at the end now. And with all of the global conflicts and everything, just so many other bits of bad news, unnerving news. Even the remainder of this year is shaping up to be really uncertain. But as we turn the corner into 15, I just can't see how all of this continues to hang together.
Yeah, and I just don't see any global winners and losers here. Certainly not in the short run. Maybe in the long run there are. Yeah. In the short run, everybody's a loser.
Yeah, especially if you think of all the other failed paper currency regimes and all the other failed reserve currency systems have all basically ended in war. Yeah. I mean, it's war that's the transition point as you go from one currency regime to the next. This idea that the U.S. will always be the reserve currency of the world just simply because it has been that way in your lifetime, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. If folks just study history, I mean, they'll see that, before the dollar, it was the pound sterling. And as you just go back in history, it just transitions from one power to the next. We blew it. When we had our chance to maintain the system for quite a while, all the way through the 50s and 60s, but our politicians greedily decided that they wanted the power of the purse to spend as much money as possible, to give away as much money as possible, to keep buying votes, and they've wrecked it. And they've given away the rights and what our posterity, what our children and grandchildren should have been able to enjoy. They've instead given it all away. And that transition to that new system, I mean, we're seeing the birth pangs of it now with riots and fighting and civil wars and insurrections and everything worldwide. And that's just that's going to get way worse before it ever begins to get better.
Yeah, it's remarkable to see what we're living through now, It really is remarkable.
Mm-hmm. And
would you believe that we could ever live through something like this?
Yeah, you think back to, just 15 short years ago, 1999, man, things couldn't look better. Yeah. I mean, .com was going like crazy and the Berlin Wall was down. The Iron Curtain had been raised and there were peace dividends people were talking about. I mean, everything was great. And as it turns out, that was pretty much the peak. And
Yeah.
it's been downhill ever since. And I'm sure you're familiar with the work of those. I can't remember the name, Howe and Strauss or whatever their names are, the fourth turning guys.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
That's a book that everybody should at least browse. The idea that things move in generational cycles of 80 years, and that you can break those 80 years up into 4 different turnings, and that fourth turning, year 70, the 70s and 80 is when it really gets ugly. And that, based on those cycles, is where we are now.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and the whole civil unrest cycle, the war cycle, second decade of every century, going back 1,000 years, there's been a war, a major conflagration, and we're there now. It sure seems like it. And there's no need for this war. Nobody wants it except the governments of the world to cover their collective behinds for all of the mistakes and the damage that they have caused. And they need to cover it up, and said, no, it wasn't us. It was those guys over there across the ocean. All their fault. Exactly. We didn't do it.
Exactly. It wasn't us and the bankers. No. No, don't look at us. You don't want us. You don't want to hang us. You want to go to war with somebody else instead. That's what you want to do. Yeah.
And it's funny, had this guy on. He's a former, now, granted, he didn't connect dots. I'm connecting dots now. Former DEA agent. He went underground in the Pablo Escobar organization to track all the money laundering. Do you know who was doing all the money laundering, Craig, for the Escobar organization?
Tell me, Kerry.
You might be shocked to know this, but the very same bankers in the too big to fail banks who have screwed us over since the collapse, same people around the world.
If there's money to be made, they're going to do it.
And it doesn't matter how they're going to make it. Now, granted, some of them have ostensibly put in controls and have minimized their involvement in all the, narco money laundering. But basically, it's the same guys. HSBC, you heard about all the hundreds of billions of dollars that they laundered. Same guys, same people, same everything. So whether it's mortgage-backed securities or drug money, doesn't matter, right?
That's absolutely right. If people want to, if they ever, you're scratching your head wondering why everybody got off, why there were no prosecutions. I mean, the system was brought to its knees in 2008, and yet nobody's in jail. Well, there you go.
There you go.
As far as you need to look.
And here we go. And hey, just give us your website, how we join up tfmetalsreport.com.
Kerry, thank you. tfmetalsreport.com. It's a community like no other on the internet, full of like-minded folks who we all pretty much see it the same way. We all see this coming, and so we're all out to help each other like a big community would. Prepare for these things that you and I have been discussing. tfmetalsreport.com. There's a small subscription component if you wish to have, some more maybe market timing and market trading ideas. It's only $10 a month, so it's not a deal breaker. And you can do that as well. But the site itself is free, and I encourage everybody to check it out.
Yeah, and I check it out daily. And, most websites, I can't even look at the comments because they're like nut jobs.
Right.
On your site, the comments are really intelligent. There's no ranting and raving on it. And that's something that I really do appreciate. Civilized discussion on your site. And hey, link will be found on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Hey, we've got a webinar going on tonight, September 24th at 9 p.m. free. Just click the link on the upper left-hand corner of the site. Don't forget, sign up for a free newsletter. And Craig, we will talk with you again soon. It's starting to get interesting.
Kerry, anytime. It's always a pleasure.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.